politician is one of the most distrusted human being, under the sun in Africa. People don't trust them because they will tell you that, well, they lie to get power, they thrive on deceits, and they feed on propaganda and order. So my point is that if the citizenry or the people now distrust politicians, now who cause them? The politician who caused it. And so let there be some form of honesty and decency about the way politics is done. Tell the people what you mean. Mean what you tell the people. And when you promise to do X, Y, Z, and you are giving the mandate, stay committed to that mandate so that people can see a match between what you said you'll be doing and what you are doing. Okay. So long as we can't see the match. There was a ministerial nominee who appeared before appointments committee, and then certain things that he had said in the lead up to elections, he was asked to substantiate. I said, I can't substantiate it, but when I saw the people, I felt like telling them something. So they are not helpful. All and right. It will come. It comes back to hunters because, like he's saying, government has strenuously done something to get this amount of vaccine, and we are told we're going to have more. If government spends all resources in getting these vaccines, and at the end of the day, people do not trust it because they don't trust the politician, then it amounts to fetching water with a basket. It amounts to waste of resources and all that. And so politicians must know that if you are not honest with the citizenry will continue to distrust them. And there can be no meaningful talk about development without public trust.
Okay. All right. So you didn't answer my question. And
what was that?
I see you.
Ask what a president. Well, he's the first gentleman of the land.
Right.
Okay, once the first gentleman of the land, and it comes to administering vaccine, he cannot be the last gentleman.
Right.
Let him be the first.
No. I mean, well, you can just take it. Does it have to be a public event?
Oh, yeah. I think it doesn't. Well, to the extent that it will help in dealing with the distrust,
right,
in the doses or in the vaccine, I think it will help. So let send your cameras there and all that. See how the president will do the face when the needle is pierced and all that. And let's. But of course, it can just be. Like you said, you've seen world leaders pretending to be taking the vaccines when they were actually taking water. So the point for me, it is good. It will help demystify or reduce the distrust and the misconception that people have that it may be a sign of the Antichrist or it may be some thing that may be pushed down our body so that something else may happen and all that. I think it is good.
All right, so that we can't replicate ourselves.
Yeah, but our call is that those of us who also come out often to do some of these things, if they want to give it to us, they should give it to us fast, so that we do that.
So you want to jump the queue?
Yeah, well, I mean, we stand before students and teach, and we are coming here educating people and all that.
Essential groups.
So we are essential. So if they will give it to us, give it, and not they shouldn't give it to us alone because we are family. If they give it to us, it goes to the family.
So an appeal is being made. An appeal is being made to jump the queue. And this is exactly what happened in Lebanon. The parliamentary leadership, members of parliament went and jumped the queue because they were not supposed to be taking the first batch because there was not a lot. And that's exactly what they went ahead and did. And it's become a big major incident in the world. So it's not impossible in Ghana that might happen. Gentlemen, we've run out of time as usual, but I do need your thoughts. We're going to the final, the closing addresses ahead of judgment of the Supreme Court. They filed their closing addresses, sorry. But the judgment is on the 4th. I sort of preempted it by saying, well, were you disappointed in the case? But I'm going to ask that question anyway. Have you been disappointed, not in terms of in anything at all, in what we've heard, in terms of its impact on Ghana or those kinds of things? Your thoughts, Dr. Kwekwaji-Mbudu?
All right, so I think this particular election petition has been fundamentally different from the one that we had in 2000 and 2012, the 2012 petition that went into 2013. It's fundamentally different for a number of reasons. First and foremost, the 2012 one had to do with the challenge. First and foremost, the relief that was being sought by the petitioner then was that he had rather been validly elected as president of Ghana. That is, if you consider the non-signing of pink sheets, the overvoting, voting without biometric verification and all that. If you strike out those votes contained therein that were affected, the results will be that he rather had been elected, validly elected. And so to prove that, I think they brought over a number of pink sheets that were 11,000 that was later reduced because of the audit that was done and all. That's been the fundamental difference between this, that one and this one. This one, you see that the reliefs that are being sought, a number of reliefs, but key amongst them is that no one maintained that threshold of more than 50% of the total valid votes cast, and so there should be a second election. So the petitioner here is not saying he won, unlike in 2012 where the petitioner was saying he won. This time the petitioner is saying let's rerun the election, let's have a second election, not rerun, let's have a second election between only those two candidates to actually determine who won. Because if you consider the declaration of the Electoral Commission chairperson herself, the data that she used in the declaration by suggesting that if you add Techiman South, all the 128,018 to that of the petitioner, it still won't be enough to overturn the results. They're saying that was wrong, and so the declaration must have been wrong, and then subsequently the purported correction of the earlier declaration also contained wrong figures and all that. That's the heart and basis of the petition. So to the extent that we've not had an extensive case, and if you remember 2012, 2013, it went on for about 8 months, grueling proceedings where people had to take the box for whatever reason, and it's being suggested, for instance, that the difference between this one where the Electoral Commission chairperson basically, or the EC has basically said, well, we're not going to call any evidence, the case should be decided on the merits, and that one was that in 2012, 2013, if the Electoral Commission had not taken the stand, or the Electoral Commission chairperson had not taken the stand, or even introduced any person to give evidence to contradict that which, or counter that which the petitioner had given, there was a possibility that the matter could go against them. Whereas in this particular instance, because of the fact that the petitioner has basically, on the basis of the evidence that has been put forth, the respondents are saying they have not shown anything that shows that the election outcome was different. They remember they even filed preliminary objections that the matter should have even been dismissed right from the onset, because they were not essentially challenging the validity of the results, but they were questioning the processes of the declaration of the results, which, if you, according to the respondents, if you do the tabulation and you take out some of the factual inaccuracies being put out by the petitioner, the conclusion is that the person declared as the winner actually won. So to that extent, to the extent that we've not seen a long, drawn-out process with all the drama associated, then you can say there is some difference between this and that one. But in terms of substance, I think this has also been obviously I'll say it's been exciting because of the opportunity to actually learn and to
be going and teach your law students. But but I'm saying that now I've got to rush you a little bit, but I need for you. Was any point to this?
Of course. I mean, in a society where we live in, at the stage in which we've gotten in our development, it's only a testament to our credentials that indeed we have not resorted to violence. Yes, in the immediate aftermath of the declaration of the results, we saw some rancor and stuff like that, which was not entirely different from that which we saw in the early parts of the 2012 election results as well. But at the end of the day, the matter was sent to court as being the Supreme Court being the highest court of the land to determine that matter. And that speaks to the fact that indeed we've decided to chart this particular path because the courts are supposed to be the final arbiters. And so if we cannot trust or we cannot settle our disputes in the court, then we have a problem as a people. So to that extent, yes, it's been good that we've had this petition. It improves on our jurisprudence generally. It helps consolidate our democratic credentials. And I believe at the end of the day, there will be reforms that will be made on the basis of this case, just like we saw reforms being done on the basis of the 2012-2013 petition as well, which will only help our democratic process, our electoral process, improve in the years to come.
Right. Now, do you agree, Professor Jampa? Because, I mean, for me, the very fact of holding the nation in suspense at all, or holding it somehow waiting, personally, very personally, I find that annoying. I just want to get on with stuff, and then we're going to court. And then the matter, when it gets to court, are you happy with what you've seen or heard? Are you? And does this
well, to the extent that we managed to get the petitioners to take their people off the streets and to go to court. I mean, I think I'm happy. Elsewhere, people would have still been fighting and doing all manner of things that would make governance impossible. And so we have done well. But I think my reservations about the processes have been known from the time the processes started. And I believe that it will have a lot of implications whilst we await the judgment that comes. Before the judgment, maybe the judgment may contain certain things that may give us hope. But for now, before the judgment, my own view is that whatever has gone on will have a lot of implications for the future, for the Electoral Commission and also election administration in Ghana.
Well, why does Ghana always want to celebrate doing the right thing? I don't understand that. Doc brought it up, but so you didn't stage your coup. So what? So you should be happy about that.
Because we are not used to transitional democracy, and we compare ourselves to countries that have surrounded us, and we know that we are the beacon of hope in a sub-region that is saddled with a conflict, particularly with
isn't that dangerous?
Election.
That very idea that this is who we compare ourselves to, isn't that problematic?
Sometimes it is. Sometimes you need to compare so that you can pat yourself on the shoulders that you are doing what is right, and then you can move on and order. So, I mean, I understand if you want to be tall and you compare yourself to a dwarf, then you will never grow tall and order. But sometimes people tell me that I am short, and I say that I'm taller than the president. I'm fine.
You live with that. Okay. We're going to have to leave it there. Prof. And Nana, let's wrap it up for us, and then we can say bye-bye. Oh, goodness.
I think like most other people, I'll be very glad to see closure in this matter. One hopes that, as Dr. Ajaman Badu suggests, that this be a useful stage in a learning process of us improving.
So, but you agree with the idea that we should have had this process?
We should have had the election petition in the first place.
Isn't part of our learning to be able to dismiss stuff that isn't going anywhere?
Quite. And I would agree with somebody else who has said quite categorically to us that in certain respects it was a glorious waste of time from the point of view of the substance of the matter. I have not been a great fan of this process, but if it is part of a political process that assures the two main political forces in this country that they have equal recourse to the law and will have matters that concern them taken with equal seriousness by the highest courts in the land, then it will have served some purpose. It could have taken less time, though.
Right.
Just let me add to this that yes, I can share the sentiment, and one and I, of course, is saying that the processes may be boring, it may be time wasting and all that. So going forward, Afarajan used to say this, and then it's becoming something that is institutionalized. Go to court, go to court, go to court. If there are avenues for us or for the Electoral Commission to dialogue with its stakeholders to address certain concerns, and those avenues are there, I think they should rather think about making use of those avenues so that you wouldn't have court petitions, election petitions all the time. If you can prevent it by meeting with the stakeholders and dialoguing with them and finding solution, why not? Let's do so rather than going to court. I think that would also help. And let us eschew the Afarajan's cliche of go to court, because it's not easy.
Right. Some people just like litigation.
Yes.
I'm going to let you have the last word, because this case should even be tolerated by the Supreme Court.
No, as it stands right now, if you want to, so that's where we need to make a distinction between challenging the validity of the election of a president, which is what is provided for by Article 64, and having problems with the electoral process that do not necessarily lead to
impact the decision.
Basically. So to the extent that the problems you have with the electoral process are also geared at challenging the validity of the election results, that indeed the person who was declared elected was not necessarily the one that the people of Ghana willingly voted for, then the only option you have is to go to court.
Okay.
And until we change that provision, which is an entrenched provision in the Constitution, Article 64, because it falls within the ambit of the Executive, Chapter 8. Until we change that through a referendum, that is going to be the only process that you can challenge the validity of a president. But then if your problem does not...
continue. You know that, don't you? You know that, don't you?
Yeah, I do, but I'm just wrapping up.
Still wrap up
10 seconds.
Yeah.
If your problem with the electoral process does not necessarily have to do with you thinking the president wasn't validly elected, because there's a phrase in Latin that we have, de minimis non curat lex, as in the law does not have time for trifle or trifling matters.
Well, we have had, haven't we, in the last Supreme Court petition?
So to that extent, there can be processes that you can seek redress through IPAC level,
lesser processes,
and all those kinds of things, yes, so that we reform. And in the 2012 election petition was actually important because the court urged the Electoral Commission to simplify the pink sheet, to make it easy, because it was complicated, and also the political parties should train their agents, and the Electoral Commission itself should train their agents. And having participated in the last election, 2020, trust me, it's not an easy process to go through. You need to actually be smart to be able to fill that.
That's what lecturers do. And of course, when they're standing in front of their students, they don't care, because the students can't even say one word. See, unfortunately, sometimes they come here and then they want. Yes, you are. Then they look at me and they think, just another student. Yeah. Let me just as usual, it's great to have your insights and your thoughts, because they do inform a lot of what then people go out there and say, okay, it's not quite as cut and dried as I thought it was. So it's great to have you both. Professor Ransford Edward Van Jampo, a political scientist at the University of Ghana. He's one of our
You're the only station that mentions my phone, and I love it.
There you go. We've been taught. Well, you see, we take our lessons seriously. Dr. Kweku Ajimambudu, he's a law lecturer and head of Law Center's Gimpe Faculty of Law, and also founder of the Justice Foundation, helping assist with indigent legal representation. You can have summarized it, but it's not quite that. People who don't have money, to helping them to get legal representation.
Are they taking over the whole function of legal aid? I don't know.
Well, legal aid is not dead, but it's not quite as functional as one would hope. Okay, so thanks very much, gentlemen, as always. Have a great weekend. Nana?
Yes, indeed. Have a fantastic one. Enjoy yourself, whatever you do.
Say bye-bye then.
Oh, it's bye-bye from me.
And bye-bye from me.
The Asaase Breakfast Show. MBS.